People often ask how much should homework count in the overall grade book? And you have to decide what is the role of homework. Well, for me, homework is practice, an extension of that which is already learned. For example, I would never give a kid a homework assignment, and we call it practice in my classroom, so we're mindful of the role it plays. Your science practice tonight, your math practice tonight, instead of homework, because homework has that emotional baggage. It's a compliance and power play between child and parent or child and teacher. So we call it practice. Well, I would never dream of giving a child practice of something that it didn't have in some way vetted in the classroom that he understood it. Homework is to practice those things already learned, or at least already well understood. So in a classroom, I actually might give kids different homework assignments based on their readiness level. I'm not going to do one wonderful lesson that's differentiated and really sound instruction and then undermine the whole thing with one-size-fits-all practice. If you ever coached a sport, you know that kids, some are doing batting practice, some fielding, some catching, some need to lift some weights, some practice their running and their speed, but not everybody's doing catching practice. Not everybody is doing batting practice. You give different practice, different levels of readiness. Okay, so now, if we're mindful that it's about instruction, its formative in nature is as you're coming to know, it needs to be a safe place where you can wrestle with things. Unfortunately, I've seen this down as young as first grade, but certainly all the way through elementary and middle school and high school, it's more comfortable for students today to say, I forgot my homework, or I didn't have time to do my homework. To come across as a little scatterbrained or irresponsible than to say, I didn't understand what I was doing and couldn't do it. Because we tend to just, oh no, it's a sign of weakness if you have academic struggle in any degree. So we've got to work on that side of it. I get that. But it does remind us of this role of homework. Given its role, then you decide how much it should count. Well, homework is formative in nature. It's as you're coming to know. But grades only report what you know against standards or outcomes or objectives at the end of the learning. So homework doesn't have a place in that report. Think about this. What if a kid does no homework ever, but he demonstrates all the evidence? He aces every single test. He gets 100 on everything, but he does no homework, no practice. Should he get any grade less than an A? Most teachers would say no. But a lot of times, the reality is the student gets not just a B, a C, or a D, but often gets an F. When those teachers are interviewed, why did you do this? They often say, well, I wanted to teach him responsibility. I wanted to teach him a lesson. You can't get away with that in the real world. Well, actually, you can. This is a little bit radical, but hear me out before you judge it. Homework is 100% irrelevant as to the report of what students know against standards or can do against standards. It's very relevant to them coming to know it. I think practice does improve your performance with things. The problem is, what does a grade represent? It's only a report of what you know at the end. So any teacher method, any teacher technique that is used to get students to a standard can't be involved, woven in, entwined with the report of the student's performance against that standard. So what's in that? Class discussion, class participation, reading log minutes, group projects, homework. Those are all teacher techniques, and they're great. So please understand, yes, report homework. Have consequences if they don't do it. Really report that out, but separate that report from the academic report, because a grade can't be knowingly falsified. And if you weave homework into it, you knowingly falsify a grade. And that's an ethical breach. No teacher can do that. It turns out a lot of students in high school have slightly inflated grades, sometimes greatly inflated grades, and colleges who explored why they had A's in their transcripts, but they're really B and C students, is because they did all this homework or service to the school, or they brought in canned food for the canned food drive, or they tutored younger classmates, something along those lines that really wasn't clear and consistent evidence over time of what they know against the standards. And homework is one of the great perpetrators of that dilution of grade accuracy, the lowering of integrity. We don't want to do that. So most teachers who struggle with this, well, they begin to say, all right, I'll count all those peripheral things, homework included, as 20% of the grade instead of 40%. they try to whittle it down to 10. All right, homework will count 10%. All the rest of my grade will be 90% from the summative assessments. And that seems very legitimate. But think about it. If your grade for an A is 95 to 100, and the kid does no homework, he's already down to a 90%. Yet he might demonstrate 100% proof he knows it all. The highest grade he can get is a B, which is a false report of what he knows against standards. And you can't do that because a grade that's been falsified in some way, diluted, lessened in its accuracy, well, then it can't be used to make decisions, to provide feedback, or to document students' progress, which are the three big reasons why we do grades in the first place. You undermine the entire enterprise of grading, and it makes it much more difficult for the teachers that the child has the following year. So, what would grading experts say? Homework should probably count 0. What is it in my class? Well, I'm out of the classroom right now because I'm helping teachers work through this. But when I'm in the classroom, it's 5% or less. I know it's a moderate hypocrisy, but what's in that 5%? All those formative teacher techniques and methods. So really homework counts about what? 1.2%? It's negligible because in my school, an A was 94 to 100. Kid could not do any of that other stuff, and he could actually demonstrate 100% evidence for those standards. The report would be accurate. So count homework just as much until it crosses the point where it actually influences the accuracy of the grade. Then you can't count it that number anymore.